Himlen är oskyldigt blå, som ögon när barnen är små. Att regndroppar faller som tårarna gör, det rår inte stjärnorna för. Älskling, jag vet hur det känns när broar till tryggheten bränns. Fast tiden har jagat oss in i en vrå, i himlen så oskyldigt blå. När vi växte upp, lekte livet, vi var evighetens hopp. Det var helt självklart att vår framtid skulle bli oförbrukat fri. Somrar svepte fram, jorden värmde våra fötter där vi sprang. Rågen gungade och gräset växte grönt. Hela livet var så skönt. Himlen är oskyldigt blå, som ögon när barnen är små. Att regndroppar faller som tårarna gör, det rår inte stjärnorna för. Älskling, jag vet hur det känns när broar till tryggheten bränns. Fast tiden har jagat oss in i en vrå, i himlen så oskyldigt blå. Frusna på en strand flög vi med drakar medans tiden flöt i land. Vi var barn som ingen ondska kunde nå, himlen var så blå. Och nu tar molnen mark, jag var förblindad av att solen sken så stark. Men mina ögon kommer alltid emot dig, kan det begäras mer av mig? Himlen är oskyldigt blå, och djupaste hav lika så. Att regndroppar faller som tårarna gör, det rår inte stjärnorna för. Älskling, jag vet hur det känns när broar till tryggheten bränns. Fast tiden har jagat oss in i en vrå, i himlen så oskyldigt blå. Fast tiden har jagat oss in i en vrå, är himlen så oskyldigt blå.
I respectfully invite His Majesty the King to open the Riksdag session.
Herr talman.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the Swedish Riksdag, we gather here today to commence a new parliamentary year. The decisions made in this chamber affect people's everyday lives and have a bearing on their faith in the future. Sweden and the world face significant challenges. The human suffering in Gaza is unspeakable, and the conflicts of the Middle East risk causing serious consequences for international stability. In Ukraine, the Russian aggression continues to reap lives and pose a threat to European security. Every day, the citizens of Ukraine defend not only their own country, but also the freedom we all share. These wars and conflicts serve to remind us that peace, security, and respect for human dignity cannot be taken for granted. It also reminds us of how important cooperation across national borders is when international law is under threat and there's a risk that lawlessness will take over. The UN Charter, adopted 80 years ago, is a beseeching message about the significance of an international rules-based order. We are also coming to a pivotal crossroads with respect to climate change, energy supply, and the rapid development of technology. The voice of Sweden is needed now more than ever through Nordic and European cooperation, and with the strength arising from our NATO membership, we can be a global force for security and democracy. And together we have the knowledge, the resources, and the innovative power to shape a more sustainable and inclusive future. Honourable members of the Swedish Riksdag, at a time when facts are called into question and democratic values are being pushed back, we need to take a stand in defence of the open society, for the right to freely think, speak, and engage in academic research. And this is precisely why our universities and other higher education institutions play a crucial role. They are arenas for free thought and critical analysis. Independent academic research is a pillar of our democracy. That is where new knowledge emerges, on the basis of which we build a better society equipped for a changing world. My hope is that this parliamentary year shall be permeated with respect, responsiveness, and long-term thinking. You, as elected representatives of the Swedish people, shoulder a great responsibility. In the words of Dag Hammarskjöld, quote, "Only he deserves power who every day justifies it," end quote. With every day comes a new opportunity to contribute to a better future together. With these words, I wish you strength, courage, and wisdom for the forthcoming parliamentary year. I hereby declare the 2025-2026 Riksdag session open.
skimmer i molnen och glitter i sjön. Det är ljus över stränder och näs. Och omkring mig står den härliga skogen så grön. Bakom ängar av gungande gräs. Och med sommar och skönhet och skogsvindsackord står min hembygd och hälsar mig glad. Var mig hälsad, men var är min faders gård? Det är tomt bakom lönnarnas rad. Det är tomt, det är bränt, det är härjat och kallt. Där den låg ligger berghällen bar. Och däröver går minnet av vinden så svag. Och det minnet är allt som finns kvar. Och det är jag som såg en gavel stå vid och ett fönster stå öppet där i. Som piano det göd och en munter bit av en visa med fin melodi. Och det är som det vore min faders röst när han ännu var lycklig och ung. Innan sången blev tyst i hans dödssjuka bröst och hans levnad blev sorgsen och tung. Det är tomt, det är bränt, jag vill lägga mig ner invid sjön för att höra hans tal om det gamla som gått medan tiden led, om det gamla vid Alstens stad. Och sitt sorgsna och sorlande svar han slår, men så svagt att det blott vore drömt. Det är kastat för vind sedan 20 långa år. Det är dött och begravet och glömt. Där du kära gestalter och syner minns, där står tomheten öde och kall. Och min eviga vaktsång är allt som finns av det gamla i Alstens stad. Det skimmer i molnen och glitter i sjön. Det är ljus över stränder och näs.
I now invite the Prime Minister to deliver the statement of government policy.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, Mr. Speaker, honourable members of the Riksdag, ladies and gentlemen. Sweden is fantastic. All of us who were lucky enough to be born here, or who became part of Sweden later in life, we have reason to be grateful that we can call this place our own. We're the country that believes in equity, gender equality, and the unique rights of children. That exports both special steel and pop music to the entire world, where our common welfare is built on millions of individual efforts, and where everyone who wants to can experience the tremendous feeling of freedom offered by our waters, forests, and mountains. This is Sweden. For far too long, we took these successes for granted. Social problems grew and shook the very foundations of our welfare society. Not because anyone was out to destroy Sweden, but because we did not protect what had made Sweden so successful. At the last election, the four cooperating parties, the Moderate Party, the Christian Democrats, the Liberal Party, and the Sweden Democrats, were given a clear mandate from the electorate to get Sweden in order. We took over a country where gang shootings had become an everyday occurrence, where failed migration and integration policy had led to widespread exclusion, where fossil-free energy production had been shut down for ideological reasons, where inflation was in double digits, school results were in decline, and our national security policy was in limbo pending membership of NATO. Sweden had reached the end of the road. This government has charted a new course for Sweden. We all know there is still a long way to go, but the direction is clear, step by step. Our country is now becoming more secure and more successful. The paradigm shift that this government is implementing in key policy areas have produced clear results. Since 2022, shootings have decreased year on year. Many more serious crimes are being solved, and almost 11,500 police officers are now patrolling our streets, a record level. Asylum applications have more than halved, and Sweden now has its lowest level of asylum immigration since 1985. We have combated inflation, and Sweden's real wages are rising again. And in the most precarious period since the Second World War, Sweden is now a natural and respected member of NATO. In area after area, Sweden has had a new start. From the revival of knowledge-based education and preventive social services to decisions that are paving the way for historic expansion of new nuclear energy. But something else has happened too, something that is now taken for granted. Political stability has returned to Sweden. After more than a decade of weak governments, recurring government crises, and failed budgets, a stable majority now stands behind the policies being pursued by this government. And we have managed on important issues to gather an even broader majority here in the Riksdag. And I appreciate the fact that we can, at times, come together in national political unity. It is good for Sweden in these times of international uncertainty. In the parliamentary year ahead of us, well, we now can believe in the future. We can believe in Sweden and everything that we together can accomplish in this amazing country. And in the parliamentary year that is ahead of us, the government will present a large number of legislative proposals to build a stronger Sweden. The pace of reform will remain high. And this is a government that will get things done. Mr. Speaker, and members of the Riksdag, let us roll up our sleeves and I say welcome to a new parliamentary year. No task is more crucial to the government than fighting gang crime. When we took over, lethal gun violence had trebled in a decade. The criminal economy had grown to some 150 billion annually. Organised crime threatens the very foundation of our free welfare society, and the government is in the midst of an unprecedented offensive. The strategy is threefold: to strike back against serious gang violence, to stop the recruitment of children and young people, and to cut off a criminal economy. Huge efforts have been made to equip the judicial system with more police officers and more prison places. This summer, the government made an agreement with Estonia to rent 600 prison places in Tartu. Now, it is up to the Riksdag to make a final decision. At the same time, we have honed law enforcement with new tools, including preventive coercive measures, seclusion orders, stop and search zones, and substantially expanded camera surveillance. Later this fall, we will propose that the police will be allowed to use AI for facial recognition in real time to prevent and investigate certain serious offences, to get at those procuring and enabling criminal networks. Additional acts will be criminalized, as will the participation in a gang. The message to the gangs is crystal clear. The Swedish judicial system will hunt you down across national borders, monitor you, take away your luxury goods, lock you up for a long time, and expel you from Sweden if you're not a Swedish citizen. The government also wants to make it possible to revoke the citizenship of gang members with dual citizenship who have committed offences that seriously harm Sweden's vital interests. For far too long, Sweden has safeguarded the interests of perpetrators. And we're now shifting that perspective, and we're focusing on the victims of crimes and protecting society instead. The scales of penalties must reflect the seriousness of the offences. It must be possible with double sentences. The current reduced sentences for multiple offences will have to be abolished, and we have the possibility of life sentences for repeat serious sexual offences. And the rules for conditional release will be stricter, and for the most dangerous criminals, we have a new penalty, and it will be such that dangerous people must be locked away so that law-abiding people are not afraid to go about their lives.
Barn.
Children are ruthlessly exploited by criminal networks to commit serious offences. To protect both the children and their potential victims, the government is now taking decisive action against the cynical exploitation. As of October 1st, it will be possible to use secret preventive coercive measures also against children under the age of 15. The age of criminal responsibility will be lowered, and reduced sentences will be substantially curtailed for young offenders and will be abolished entirely for young adult offenders. Special prisons for young offenders will be ready by July 1st. The aim has to be that things will never have to go that far. The government has implemented the largest social services reform for more than 40 years, enabling early interventions so that at-risk children are identified before offences are committed. At the same time, the barriers of confidentiality between police, schools and social services have been eliminated so that municipalities can act together on at-risk young people. I strongly urge municipal commissioners around the country to take advantage of this opportunity to break those vicious circles early on. Money and status are significant drivers of organized crime. The government is therefore stepping up the fight against the criminal economy. The new legislation on confiscation has already led to the seizure of exclusive watches, bags and cars worth 86 million Swedish krona. And to take the money, that is important, and the symbolic value is even greater. The Swedish Social Insurance Agency and 7 other government agencies have been tasked with reviewing all decisions that can be associated with the 62,000 individuals in Sweden with links to criminal gangs. An expanded trade prohibition will target individuals involved in organized crime, and we're looking at specific legislation against gang members. To eliminate unscrupulous operators, we also will be work with the bans on business activities like dental practices and healthcare centres. The right to conduct background controls will be expanded, and so will the possibilities to suspend central government employees. There will be severe consequences for benefit fraud, and we will have fines and benefit bans that will be introduced in social insurance system. But not all serious crime is organized crime. Men's violence against women must be combated robustly. Non-contact orders have already been significantly expanded. And if you've been convicted of a serious offence in an intimate relationship or honor-based oppression, well, we have to then have as a rule a non-contact order after this person has served his sentence. The government will now go further to combat psychological and financial abuse as well. And it must be obvious to protect women's rights.
Herr talman.
Mr. Speaker, for decades, Sweden implemented a poorly devised and unsustainable immigration policy in combination with unsuccessful integration policy. The result is widespread exclusion, which has created a breeding ground for crime, extremism, honor culture, and benefit dependence. For this reason, it has been a central task for this government to curtail asylum-related immigration to Sweden. The pace of reform is high, and the results are clear. Since the change of government in 2022, applications for asylum in Sweden have decreased by almost 60%, despite a continued high level of applications across Europe. At the same time, returns to countries of origin have increased with more than 60%. More people are leaving Sweden after receiving an expulsion order, and this is a result of a consistent and sustained policy to bring order to the migration system. With special reception centres, return centres, and expanded and more secure detention facilities. For a long time, Sweden was a cautionary tale in the EU. Not anymore. The government is continuing to adjust the Swedish rules to the minimum level required under EU law ahead of the Pact on Migration and Asylum entering into force summer 2026. The government also intends to make the financial maintenance requirement more stringent, and the shadow society is to be combated through expanded duty to report migrants with permits, and the asylum seekers' right to arrange their own accommodation will be abolished. The focus of Swedish migration policy is now shifting from the asylum immigration to the highly qualified labour immigration. Processing times for this group has been reduced from, on average, 100 days to less than 20. But we need to improve when it comes to attracting international talent in order to boost our competitiveness. The government will therefore present proposals that it will be easier to switch jobs. And we're also taking action against work permit fraud. The government is also working to make it easier for researchers and doctoral students to remain in Sweden. We have to send a clear signal. If you are a highly qualified talent in your area of expertise and you want to build a future here together with us, then you are welcome to Sweden.
Mr. Speaker, it is clear that many of the people who have come to Sweden have settled well into Swedish society and make important contributions every day. We see you, we appreciate you, and we want you and your children to succeed in Sweden. But at the same time, it is equally obvious that the previously high intake of asylum seekers combined with a permissive integration policy has made this kind of success story more difficult. We all know that far too many become mired in intergenerational social exclusion. We are turning that around now and have greatly reduced the intake of asylum seekers to give us a chance of succeeding at our next major task, making a success of integration. This government believes in social mobility, not social heredity. So, point by point, we are doing away with Sweden's old permissive integration policy, where even murderers could be granted Swedish citizenship. Sweden's 180 vulnerable areas will be revitalized, and we will make sure that children growing up in an environment of language paucity get a real chance to do well in school in Sweden. Successful integration implies both obligations and opportunities, and the key to Swedish society is the Swedish language. A majority of those studying Swedish as a second language are now born in Sweden. This is not reasonable. This underscores the need for intensive Swedish language training, catch-up schools for early school years, and mandatory language preschool for children who otherwise do not learn proper Swedish at home. With a shared language, we can build society together.
Kraven.
The requirements for becoming a Swedish citizen are being tightened significantly. Your knowledge must include Swedish language skills and an understanding of Swedish society. We are introducing requirements whereby to become a Swedish citizen, you must be able to support yourself, conduct yourself properly, and have lived here for a long time. Those who do become citizens must be fully interwoven in the fabric of society. At the same time, there will be a significant increase in the expulsions of foreign citizens who have committed offences in Sweden. This reform is expected to result in a six-fold increase in the number of expulsions on account of criminal offences. Foreign citizens who do not live up to the requirement to lead an honourable way of life in other aspects may have their residence permit revoked. To make demands is to care. It creates clarity on what is expected of those coming to our country. You learn Swedish, support yourself, and become part of the Swedish community of values. And there will be zero tolerance for honor-based oppression because gender equality is such a fundamental Swedish value. From December 1st, we will criminalize virginity tests. The government is moving forward with proposals for tougher penalties for honor-based offences and an end to the recognition of polygamous marriages. A ban on marriage between cousins, which is a fundamental part of clan and honor-based culture, will be introduced. Let us be frank in this chamber. It is a betrayal and an expression of political cowardice that Sweden has not done more in the past to stop the systematic oppression of women and girls. Voluntary repatriation should be heavily stimulated and increased. Those who feel that they have not become part of Swedish society or for other reasons wish to return to the country of origin, from the beginning of next year, they will have the opportunity to apply for a significantly increased repatriation grant. Mr. Speaker, the Nordic welfare model is unique. It gladly embraces all who succeed and also offers a second chance to those who do not. But it requires that we all make the best effort possible. This is what the true social contract between citizens and the public sector looks like, rights and obligations. To defend this welfare model is important to the government. When inflation threatened to lead to mass layoffs in the healthcare system, our four parties have provided the extra resources required. But it is equally important to protect our welfare against fraud, crime, and overexploitation, and to stand up for the work first principle that creates tax revenue and prosperity. Swedish health and medical care is world-class, but for over a decade, patients have been forced to wait indefensibly long for care. The government has acted to increase healthcare capacity and cut queues through measures that include a 1 billion kronor initiative to increase the number of cataract, prolapse and hip operations. The work to establish a national healthcare referral service is ongoing and has already led to patients in a pilot project receiving care more quickly. Sweden will continue to be at the forefront of cancer care. Everyone should have the right to the best cancer care possible, regardless of where you live. The goal to eradicate cervical cancer by 2027 remains unchanged. The largest dental care reform in 20 years is now being implemented. From the beginning of next year, the high-cost protection insurance in dental care for those aged 67 and over will be enhanced to better match the protection offered for other forms of health care. Older people deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. The government is making broad investments to raise the status, increase the expertise, and improve the work environment of those working in the care of older people. Our older people must be able to understand what staff are saying. For this reason, the government wants to introduce a language requirement from July 1st, 2026. Last year's special initiative to counteract loneliness among older people meant that 70,000 people living in service accommodation or receiving home care services took part in dancing courses. Children are literally the future of Sweden. That is why the warning signs pointing to declining mental health in many children are alarming. The number of children diagnosed with ADHD has increased dramatically. Screens are taking up more and more of children's waking hours, which affects sleep, social interaction, school results, and physical activity. But it does not have to be that way. The government has taken up the fight against screens in both preschools and at schools where the poorly devised digitalization policy has been rolled back, and mobile phones will be banned throughout the school day from the 1st of July 2026. When you put screens aside, football boots and dance shoes can come out. The Public Health Agency of Sweden has been tasked with developing proposals for the 2026 year of activity. A leisure time card giving all children between 8 and 16 will be given better access to leisure activities, and this has recently been introduced. Without the lively laughter of children, Sweden's society would be worse off. We must take the historically low birth rate seriously. The current average of 1.43 children per woman is the lowest ever recorded. The government has appointed an inquiry to map the causes, and that investigates how more people who would like to have children can also take the steps towards starting a family. What happens in our classrooms today determines what Sweden will look like tomorrow. Not only should schools equip children for life, they are also the most important investment we can make to secure Sweden's future competitiveness. Therefore, the government is implementing the largest school system reform package in 30 years. Schools will go back to basics. They should be responsible for providing education of the highest class, not be trend-driven experimental workshops. At the beginning of next year, a large number of government bills will be presented to the Riksdag. Teachers will be able to concentrate on teaching, and the focus will be on the duty of schools to promote knowledge. The independent school system will be totally overhauled with increased transparency and stricter rules to exclude unscrupulous actor from the school sector. Safer and quieter study environments will be restored. It's high time we treat schools like the fundamental societal institution that they are. It is time to treat the teaching profession with the respect it deserves, because Sweden must have a world-class school system. Mr. Speaker, the government inherited an inflation level of more than 10%. The soaring cost of living hit families, businesses, and social welfare hard. For this reason, the government focused on fighting inflation. Nonetheless, the recession has been more protracted than expected. At the start of the year, the global economy entered a new, historically uncertain phase, characterized by tariff threats, trade wars, and unpredictability. This has led to households and businesses holding back on consumption and investment decisions. For a small country that is a big trade nation, this is dangerous. This underscores the importance of the EU concluding new free trade agreements with more countries, but it is also something that demonstrates how important it is to have a responsible economic policy at home to ensure Sweden's prosperity in an increasingly tough global environment. The government's economic policy has three clear objectives: strengthening household finances after years of inflation, reinstating the work first principle so that more people contribute, and to accelerate growth so that everyone's piece of the pie gets bigger. We have lower taxes for pensioners, motorists, investment savings account holders, and for those who pay the highest marginal taxes. We have also lower taxes for low and middle income earners. With our budget, an ordinary family consisting of a police officer and a nurse will see over 43,000 kronor in income tax cuts during this electoral period. This year's budget puts more money in the pockets of hard-working people who are building a stronger Swedish economy. Next year, the same family with 2 children and an ordinary detached house will have 1,800 kronor more in their pockets every month as a result of the reforms in the autumn budget. Those who are working and toiling away should feel that it pays to work and that their efforts matter, that those who have been affected by these costly years should feel their burden lighten. I want more people to enjoy a sense of financial security and belief in the future. Behind Swedish prosperity lies work. That is why the work first principle must be reinstated. This autumn will see the biggest change to unemployment insurance in 40 years. The government will also conduct this major benefit reform so that more people who are capable of working make the shift from benefits to work. Next year, the government will present 3 bills: an activity requirement for those living on income support, a benefit cap so that it is more worthwhile to work than to live on benefits, and a gradual qualification process to become eligible for Swedish welfare. Both a major benefit reform and the significantly increased repatriation grant will, individually and in combination, lead to reduced social exclusion in the long term. However, more requirements alone are not enough. Many unemployed people lack relevant education and training, especially in jobs that are in great demand. That is why the government is making a major push for vocational education and training and to increase the number of participants in employment training programs. Internationally, Sweden is lauded for its innovation capacity, competitiveness, and innovative capital markets. But that is no reason to rest on your laurels. On the contrary, what is needed is major investment in the future to also secure tomorrow's growth. That is why the government is making massive investments in infrastructure to upgrade roads and railways. We are also making the largest investment ever in research and innovation, focusing on cutting-edge technology, excellence, and practice-based research. In these times of global uncertainty, Sweden must be a knowledge-based society and a forerunner in research.
Jag försökte vara snabb där, herr talman.
And this applies not least in regard to AI. Several world-leading AI companies have chosen to place their new investments in Sweden, and one of the EU's AI factories is now being established in Linköping. The government would also like to see the EU establish one of its 5 planned AI gigafactories in Sweden. Early next year, a new AI strategy will be developed to ensure that Sweden rapidly capitalizes on the wealth of opportunities that the AI revolution offers. It has to be easy to start, run and develop a business in Sweden. The government is pursuing a determined red tape cutting agenda to minimize the regulatory burden and administrative costs for Swedish companies. Housing construction has also long been hampered by unreasonable regulatory burdens. The government has developed a broad reform agenda to make it easier and cheaper to build. This includes everything from facilitating type-approved single-family houses that we refer to as Sweden homes, to significantly reducing red tape and simplifying building permit processes and reforming shore protection. In addition, the government intends to abolish the stricter amortization requirements and raise the loan-to-value cap for mortgages. The dream of owning a home or apartment will become a reality for more people. Sweden needs to become a freer and simpler country to live in both urban and rural areas. Following the success of permitting small-scale producers to sell their own alcoholic beverages, the government will continue with an accelerated process to abolish the outdated requirement to serve food. As well as the requirement of indoor seating in order to be allowed to serve a glass of wine outdoors. Yes.
Sverige är ett rikt.
Sweden is a rich country, including in natural resources, water, forest and land. The government will develop a new mineral strategy to promote the Swedish mineral industry in a time of increasing geopolitical tensions over strategic resources. Agricultural conditions are being improved through regulatory simplification at both national and EU level. The government is reforming its forestry policy, enhancing property rights with the aim of harnessing the forest's enormous potential for the economy, climate and environment. For Sweden to cope with the green transition successfully, the energy issue is absolutely central. For Sweden, it is also about securing our future as an advanced industrial nation. The government has laid the groundwork for a new nuclear energy program in Sweden, just over a decade after the fatal decision to close down 4 reactors in Ringhals and Oskarshamn. Concrete steps are now being taken to enable a historic expansion of nuclear energy on the Värö Peninsula in Halland. With the expansion of electricity production, new fossil-free baseload energy will be key to a stable electricity system. However, the government welcomes all fossil-free forms of energy. A wind power package will be presented with enhanced incentives for municipalities and compensation for local residents.
Mr. Speaker, it is urgent and needed to reduce global climate emissions, as Sweden is a forerunner in this respect, having started phasing out oil dependency early on with hydropower and nuclear energy and replacing oil boilers with heat pumps. Since 1990, Sweden has reduced its territorial emissions level by a third, while at the same time, our GDP has almost doubled. But more needs to be done nationally and also in Europe and globally. The government is actively pushing to expedite the electrification of industry and the vehicle fleet. Sweden was an early adopter and welcomed the EU's new objective of 90% reduction by 2040. It is through the EU that Swedish climate policy is conducted most efficiently, and it is through the EU we can influence the world. Environmental toxins are stored in humans from the embryonic stage. Sweden has taken on a leading role in the fight against environmental toxins and is pushing to raise the EU level of ambition with the new EU REACH that is being revised. And the government is also developing a national plan to prevent PFAS from being spreading in our waters and our nature. Our seas must become healthier. We're working to stop the eutrophication of the Baltic Sea, restoring healthy fish stocks and protecting more of our important ocean areas. In the next few days, Sweden's 31st national park was opened, the first marine national park in the Baltic Sea. And we are going to reduce toxic emissions by introducing bans on so-called marine scrubbers. Fish stocks in the Baltic Sea must be given a chance to recover. Sweden continues to push for the lowest possible fishing quotas within the EU. At the same time, we have, on our own accord, made a decision to ban bottom trawling in marine protected areas within the trawl limit. And we have also moved the trawl limit on a trial basis to protect a spawning herring. And if this turns out to be successful, it will become permanent. Mr. Speaker, we live in serious times. The rules-based international order, which was created after the Second World War, is in turmoil. The free world is under pressure from authoritarian powers, and at the same time, ideals that have united democracies for a long time are no longer self-evident. And this places new demands on Sweden, higher demands. We are reinforcing our total defense and securing enduring resilience. We continue to support Ukraine. We're nurturing and strengthening Sweden's alliances with like-minded countries. It is good for Sweden that we have been able to come together in such broad political unity on these existential issues. Completely united in our support to Ukraine. Completely united in our vigorous rearmament of the Swedish defense. And almost united on the new security policy approach and NATO membership. 6 out of 8 political parties. All of this gives us strength internationally. European cooperation and the European community of values are more important now than ever before for Swedish security, competitiveness, climate action and also global influence. The government's 4 priorities for the EU policy remain unchanged: the war in Ukraine, crime, competitiveness and climate. Point by point, the government has gained traction for these priorities, not least regarding the issue of Europe's dwindling competitiveness. For more than 3.5 years now, Ukraine has been heroically fighting for its freedom and sovereignty. No foreign policy task is more important for Sweden than to support Ukraine and secure peace on Ukraine's terms. We do not yet know when or how the war will end, but we do know that how the war ends will be decisive for our own security for at least a generation to come. Sweden is one of the world's largest donors to Ukraine. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Sweden has sent 19 military support packages and assistance with a total value of 96.5 billion Swedish krona. Sweden takes a leading role in shaping the sanctions against Russia, against the shadow fleet for a lowered oil price cap, and a total import ban on all Russian liquefied natural gas. The government is a driving force for Ukraine's future as an EU member. Sweden will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Ukraine's cause is our cause.
Herr talman.
Mr. Speaker, the conflicts in the Middle East continue to lead to grave suffering. Sweden stands up for Israel's right to defend itself against the existential threat directed at the country, of which Hamas' heinous terrorist attack on the 7th of October was a shocking reminder. At the same time, Israel must conform to the law of war and minimize the civilian suffering in Gaza, where a humanitarian disaster is now affecting children, not the least. Together with other EU countries, the government is demanding that sufficient food and medicine be allowed into Gaza and that the expansion and settler violence in the West Bank stop immediately. And Hamas at the same time must release the hostages and hand over full control of Gaza. This is the only way to lay the foundation for a long-term two-state solution. Sweden has a tradition of strong international engagement, and we must take our share of the responsibility to contribute to a better world. But we bear the full responsibility for what happens in Sweden. We cannot have the whole world's conflicts spilling over onto our streets. And you can think whatever you want to about the situation in the Middle East, but they cannot spread hate, threats and anti-Semitism in Sweden. Sweden's development assistance must continue to aim high, but the money must never fall into the wrong pockets or disappear into the ether. The government's reforms are addressing well-documented problems to create more effective development assistance, and the recipient countries must also work with political reforms. In the long run, poverty can only be fought with democracy, trade and growth. On 7th of March 2024, Sweden entered into a new era. Sweden joined the NATO. Our country became safer and NATO became stronger. Sweden has already made significant contributions within NATO, everything from the mechanized battalion in Latvia and the Swedish Gripen deployment in NATO's air policing in Poland, and also the fact that Sweden has been given the framework responsibility for the NATO presence in Finland. And we have enhanced the defence to reach the NATO new target of 2.5% of GDP, plus another 1.5% for broader defence and security investments. Sweden is also investing in civilian defence. The 64,000 protective shelters are to be modernised, and more people will be obliged to undertake civil defence service, and supply preparedness will be strengthened. The broad rearmament of Sweden's total defence will be noticeable far beyond army barracks in the form of thousands of new jobs, not least in the successful Swedish defence industry, but also in research environments and innovation, space initiatives and upgraded physical infrastructure. Ultimately, we're all part of the defence of Sweden. And it is when each and every one of us plays our part that it really becomes ours. Together we are strong for Sweden. Mr. Speaker, Sweden is an open and a tolerant society. We want to be a country where we care less about where you come from, what color of skin you have, and we want to care more about where you're headed. The government stands up for the rights of LGBTIQ people, regardless of who tries to violate or restrict them. This year marks the 250th anniversary of Jewish life in Sweden. The Jewish minority and culture are integral parts of Swedish society. And the government is doing its utmost to increase security and improve conditions for Jewish life in our country. The anti-Semitism that has once again reared its head in Sweden is a stain on our country's character. It must be condemned and defeated wherever it comes from by everyone without excuses and without exceptions. Free speech is the heartbeat of our liberal democracy. Freedom of the press, a vibrant cultural scene and robust public debate. These are all invaluable facets of a pluralistic society. The government believes in safeguarding strong independent public service broadcasting. And the freedom of culture needs to be enhanced by increasing opportunities for the cultural sector to derive income from other sources beyond the public sector. The free speech must be defended also outside the Swedish borders. The work continues to ensure the release of David Isaac and Gui Minhei. Civil society plays a strong and unique role in Sweden. And I would like to extend a warm thank you to all of you who, through voluntary efforts, hold our society together. Rain or shine, you train girls and boys in football, and you pore over Swedish nouns at the language cafe or take part in search operations for a missing fellow human being. All of you prove that society is bigger than the state. Recently, a cultural canon was introduced. Here we have our common cultural treasure, and the government's ambition is for this to become a living document that we can get behind together. In times of division and polarization, it's more important than ever to nurture those things that unite us and to be astounded by everything that has made Sweden such a fantastic country to live in. Mr. Speaker, I can understand that many Swedish people despair with the global situation more precarious than it has been for a very long time. Our children are stuffed with tramadol, murdering for money, and grocery shopping has become such a financial heavy burden that it's not possible to buy treats anymore. But we cannot forget that Sweden is a country with a huge potential and a country that has overcome great difficulties before. Sweden recently was ranked the most innovative country in the entire EU. We have among the most qualified labour forces in the EU. We have leading companies, extremely strong public finances, and Europe's cleanest electricity. And we're ranked among the world's leading democracies. None of this comes for free. It is the result of hard work, where everyone's efforts count, and efforts for a long period of time, not least through past generations. Together we can now create one of the world's best societies to live in. Let us build further on these unique strengths. The government has embarked on a journey of change from a Sweden that had become more dangerous and poorer to a Sweden that is becoming more secure and more successful. And this, Mr. Speaker, is a task that extends far beyond a single electoral period. We are now entering into an election year, and we want to continue the journey so that the fight against organized crime can be completed, and no mother should have to be scared to let her children play in the playground. We have to restore a sense of community. We have to gather around what has built our country stronger so that we can invest in new railways, build new nuclear energy plants, invest in startups that will become the global export successes of tomorrow, and so that more people can realize their dreams and allow themselves a few everyday luxuries. All of this is possible if we are determined. A better tomorrow awaits.
Tack för det och tack för ert tålamod.
Thank you for that, and thank you for your patience. Mr. Speaker, I want to notify you the following change to the government. Akko Ankarberg has been the Minister of Health and government minister. The new minister will be Elisabeth Lam.
Tro, jag vill känna tro. Jag vill känna morgondagen nalkas här i lugn och ro. I en vintervärld finns det någon tro. Jag vill känna önskan om en tid så ljus som friheten. Känna tro igen. Drömmarna vi har känns som bleka höstar. Där har redan sommaren regnat bort. Det spelar ingen roll hur vi gråter våra tårar. Svaren är en viskning i en värld långt bort. Tro, jag vill känna tro. Jag vill känna morgondagen nalkas här i lugn och ro. I en vintervärld finns det någon tro. Jag vill känna önskan om en tid så ljus som friheten. Känna tro igen. Att vilja men inte känna är nog så svårt. Att se men inte höra, du vänder dig bort. Du sa inget här är givet, men sådant i livet. I dina ord finns ingen önskan, än någon lust och längtan. Tro, jag vill känna tro. Jag vill känna morgondagen nalkas här i lugn och ro. I en vintervärld finns det någon tro. Jag vill känna önskan om en tid så ljus som friheten. Känna tro igen. Jag vill känna tro. Jag vill känna morgondagen nalkas här i lugn och ro. I en vintervärld finns det någon tro. Jag vill känna önskan om en tid så ljus som friheten. Jag vill känna tro igen. Känna tro. Thank